Hi guys, you able to hear me? The voice is all loud and clear. Good evening, good evening. The voice is all loud and clear. Sai Kiran, Gopi Raju. Gopi, tomorrow afternoon, 12:30 we'll meet at CSB. Guys, by the way, tomorrow afternoon at 12:30 I'll be at CSB IS Academy in Hyderabad. So you can always, and those who want to meet me, want to discuss about the next strategy, what to do, how to do, etc. You can always meet me tomorrow. I'll be there at CSB only. Having said that, see, I think we haven't discussed the mains question that I had given yesterday. Yesterday, I think I gave a mains question and we haven't discussed any answer. So this was basically a little slightly complicated question. I mean, look, I basically took inspiration from the 2013, 2014 pattern of questions where mains question pattern used to be a little more complicated, a little more in-depth, putting little more extra content in the questions. I mean, UPSC used to do that. My intention was that to sort of create that set of complication which mains used to have. During the though Dalhousie was notorious for using forced annexations to increase British territory, he nonetheless laid the groundwork for a contemporary infrastructure in the nation and implemented numerous social reforms. Now, basically, the minute you see the question, good evening, Ramya, good evening, Neha, two things must come to your mind. One is contemporary infrastructure. That is, we are talking about railways, we're talking about telegraph, we're talking about postal system, we're talking about public works department, and a social reform, widow remarriage. Right? ఈ రెండు మెయిన్గా మీకు గుర్తుండాలి. Mainly must come click in your mind. In your brain, these two must essentially click. During his term as Governor General from 1848 to 1856, Lord Dalhousie, also known as James Andrew Brown Ramsay, that was actually his name, made a substantial contribution for the development of India's infrastructure and introduction of social reforms. And recognizing his efforts in making India a modern stadium. In fact, in 2013, there was a mains question where they asked, Dalhousie, in true sense, is the maker of modern India. Many historians actually believe Dalhousie is actually the maker of modern India. I mean, we can comfortably call Dalhousie the maker of modern India. I mean, इसमें गलत नहीं है. We might not actually be wrong if we go to the extent of calling Dalhousie the maker of modern India. I mean, the development of, see, one thing I like to be very clear on this aspect. We are not actually supporting Dalhousie. We are not actually supporting Dalhousie. We are rather identifying what Dalhousie tried to do. In this answer, the intention is to identify what Dalhousie tried to do and how that eventually ended up benefiting India more than what Dalhousie thought. I mean, his administration actually came under fire for its forceful annexation taxes. In fact, that is true. I mean, not sure if how many of you know this, but Dalhousie's administration was severely criticized for implementing doctrine of labs and using doctrine of labs as a method for annexed territories. In fact, yes, such है. The development of India's rail infrastructure was one of the Dalhousie's most remarkable accomplishments. He was a fervent supporter of railways and thought that railways would aid in both economic growth and better, sort of national communication. In fact, during Dalhousie's period, significant railway lines, including the Great Indian Peninsula Railway (GIPR) and the East Indian Railway (EIR), were built mainly during Dalhousie's administration, and which he both initiated and oversaw. These railway developments revolutionized transit in India and were essential in bringing together the nation's various regions and fostering trade and streamlining the flow of both goods and people. In fact, rather than goods, it was actually the flow of people which at a later stage helped in development of this nationalist sentiment in India. The nationalist sentiment in India would have not at all developed if Dalhousie had not established his railways. His railways actually helped us. Good evening, Komal. Good evening. Good evening. Dalhousie also concentrated on enhanced communication systems and developing further communication mechanism. And he brought the electric telegraph system into India, which obviously significantly improved long distance communication and made it easier for various regions of India to coordinate. And the innovation made it possible to communicate more quickly and effectively the great distances. In fact, you might even go to the extent of saying the telegraph of 1858, 57, 56, 57, in 57 revolt and 58 period, telegraph was the most important tool which the Britishers used to actually to suppress the Great Indian Revolt. I mean, 1857 क्रांति को बंद करने के लिए इंडियन टेलीग्राफ सबसे बड़ा टूल था गोरे लंगूर का. I mean, the Gore Langur actually had only one tool with them, which they could use to suppress the 1857 revolt, and that was the telegraph. And during Dalhousie's administration, a number of social changes, in addition to infrastructural development, were actually conducted. That part you can actually highlight. He gave education a top priority. Remember Wood's dispatch? Wood's dispatch was at Dalhousie's credit. We can give the credit entirely to Dalhousie. Wood's dispatch, and he gave a top priority to put in laws in place, commercial laws, the code of law, and also establishing education institutions in Bombay, Calcutta, and Madras. These initiatives helped create a groundwork for modern education and aided in the growth and development of educated middle class in India. Then you can also talk about how Dalhousie made significant improvements in the administration and public health as well. He implemented smallpox vaccine program, which obviously, unfortunately, this is not mentioned in your Bipin Chandra book, but yeah, important. Hai. And he also focused on India's sanitation and cleanliness. Dalhousie overall the entire civil service instituted or started a system of merit-based recruitment in Indian civil service. A system of merit-based recruitment or merit-based establishment of government. Dalhousie ने start किया. Although Dalhousie's possible annexation tactics, such as doctrine of lambs, have come under fire, it is crucial to note that administrative accomplishments of Dalhousie, particularly in social reforms and in infrastructure development, you can even use the word outweigh the negatives of his rule. Even today, the advancements of country is shaped by railroads, telegraph, educational institutions, and administrative changes, which were actually put in place by Lord Dalhousie. The legacy of Dalhousie in India is complicated. I mean, to sum it, I mean, basically to give conclusion, I generally don't want to take a stand in generally, look, this is basically a generic question. So they're not expecting your opinion, no opinions. So the idea, even in your conclusion, is not to give a declarative opinion. Rather, I call this style of writing standing on the fence. So you're neither supporting Dalhousie nor opposing him. You're just simply saying, हाँ तो क्योंकि ये क्वेश्चन में ओपिनियन पूछ ही नहीं रहा ना, ये जस्टिफाई टाइप का क्वेश्चन नहीं है. क्वेश्चन में तो सीधा सीधा द आंसर द क्वेश्चन इज आस्किंग यू टू डिस्कस टाइप ऑफ क्वेश्चंस में यू नीड टू बी very specific to how the historians stand. तो historians खुद भी confusion में है, ये अच्छे हैं या बुरे हैं किसी को नहीं पता, खुद historians को नहीं पता. Since historians can't themselves decide, don't try to give a judgmental statements. Conclusions may, this is very, very important for you, most of you guys. Please understand, your conclusions must be synonymous to what is being asked in the question. Elucidate, explain, discuss. इनमें don't try to give declaratory conclusions. Declaratory conclusions basically मतलब ऐसा था, वैसा था, that is how it is, this is how it is. Don't give that type of statements. Keep it on the fence. Even though his Dalhousie sports annexations are frequently criticized, his contributions to administrative reforms and administrative development, education, public health cannot be disregarded. His actions created the groundwork for India's modernization and advanced the country for a long time. It is very important to consider Dalhousie's activities in the light of history and to recognize both the good and the bad things happened during his administration. So you are kind of leaving the question in conclusion part on the fence. So it depends on the evaluator. Evaluator सही लेना चाहता है या गलत, उन पे छोड़ दे. That way you're on the safe side. You're neither conclusively declaring a statement, you're neither leaving it that way. You understand? This kind of approach is extremely important in your answers, particularly in your mains answers. Agar if the mains answer is not asking you about a statement or not asking you about your opinion, don't try to give your opinion. As I mean, I think I've told in the very first class of mains discussion as well, and I'll keep telling this continuously. The intention of your mains answer writing is to give only the answer. Now, what is being asked, वो answer करना है, not what you know. आपको क्या पता वो रहने दो. I mean, whatever you know is you know, that you leave it that way. आपको जो पता है पता रहने दो. Don't try to give whatever you know. The answer is what is being asked. The question is basically asking you two things: contemporary infrastructure, Dalhousie's contributions in annexations and Dalhousie's contributions in contemporary infrastructure. इन दोनों पे आंसर कर दो, खत्म. You're done with the story. That's the mains answer, mains question that I've given you. And this session, let us continue the discussion on the World War One. So we were to discuss about World War One. In the last class, I think, as part of the world history series of syllabus, I think I've discussed already with you about the Russian, the German unification and Italian unification. ये दोनों तो मैं already कर चुका हूँ. I mean, I've already discussed with you. I've had a good amount of discussion with you, and I've already given you a very good clarity on German unification and Italian unification. Now, let us quickly discuss the World War One. In fact, see, World War One was basically as an event which happened between 1914 to 1918, where even by the most liberal standards, 7 different countries fought with actually no reason to why they were fighting. I mean, that's how I put it. 7 countries were fighting without even knowing why they were fighting. Namaste, Sandeep. I mean, that's my way of understanding World War One. I generally suggest to students to remember World War. World War was basically called the Great War, or commonly called the war to end all wars. World War One was always called the war to end all wars. It was fought between 1914 to 1918 between central powers. नहीं 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 हुआ. We haven't discussed that. We'll come there. रशियन रेवोल्यूशन में डिस्कस करेंगे 1905 ना संदीप रशियन रेवोल्यूशन में आएगी इसके बाद आएगा रशियन रेवोल्यूशन द वर्ल्ड वॉर वन was fought between central powers of Germany, Austria, Hungary, Ottoman Empire. Ottoman Empire is also called commonly the Turkey. And the Allied powers, which is Allied forces, Great Britain, United States, France, Russia, Italy, and Japan. We generally call this. Okay. Now, World War One, by all standards, is actually known as World War because the war was actually fought between the European powers and their colonies. European powers and their colonies together fought this battle. And the beauty of World War One is almost 1 crore people got killed without an idea of why they got killed. लोगों को आज तक नहीं पता कि एक्चुअली जंग किस लिए हुआ था even today people have no idea to actually why they even fought the battle in the first place. Now, if you remember the previous class, I spoke to you about this, where the world was ready. There was Italian unification, which was done by 1871, German unification, which was done by 1871, and France was already a country, Spain, United Kingdom, Sweden, Norway, Russia. These were all there. सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम आया था actually यहाँ पे. See, this place which you actually see in this map, Romania, Serbia, Bulgaria, Greece, these were previously colonies of Ottoman Empire. Literally, Ottoman Empire means Turkish colony. The only problem is Ottoman Empire had been in power for almost 400 years, from nearly 1200 to approximately 1600. But after that, the great Ottoman Empire was going through a decline. तो एक एक करके रोमानिया बुल्गारिया ग्रीस मॉन्टेनीग्रो Albania, Macedonia were starting to get free. Once they were becoming free, either Russia or Austria or Germany or Turkey or Italy or one of these Swedish or Norwegian countries, each of these wanted to maintain their influence in the Eastern Europe. When all these people wanted to maintain influence in Eastern Europe, it led to World War II, World War One. जैसे जैसे ईस्टर्न यूरोप फ्री होने लगा, everybody wanted to maintain their influence and their domination in Eastern Europe. This sentiment that we have to be the dominant power in Eastern Europe is what eventually led to World War One. See, World War One is understood from different viewpoints by different people. Some people call it a war of ideology. Some people call it the fall of eagles. Some historians do go to the extent of calling it the war to end all the wars of the world. Some people call it basically a German issue where Germany was planning to extend its influence into Eastern Europe. अब जर्मनी अपना इन्फ्लुएंस एक्सटेंड करने की कोशिश करेगा तो बाकी भी चुप नहीं बैठेंगे ना. You think others are going to sit silent? And according to United States and British historians, World War One is basically the war to make world safe for a democracy, or the war to make the world safe for all. See, all of these are correct. All of these are wrong at the same time. Depends on whose ideology you want to listen to. किसके व्यू पॉइंट से देखना चाहते हैं उस पर टोटली डिपेंड करता है. नाउ आई जनरली कॉल mainly the causes of World War One as mains: militarism, alliances, imperialism, nationalism, and significant individuals. Now I'll tell you what I mean. What I mean by these, each of these. Militarism, and I'll tell you this by fact. Whenever a new country comes into existence, every new country tries to build itself on military dimension, expanding its armed forces, creating new strength. एक बार अच्छा military establish कर लिए, I mean once you've established a good military, then all you will have is हाथ में खुजली, itching in the hand, where you will try to make alliances. And once you've made alliances, the next biggest demand is imperialism. Now, what I mean by imperialism is, see, Britain had India, right? Just 1 second, please. I'll get some water. See, Britain had India, France had North Africa. So, naturally, the newly created countries of Italy and Germany, they both would also want to have new territories, no? Right? एंड ये जो न्यू टेरिटरीज वाला डिजीज है, ये तो नए देशों में बहुत ज्यादा होता है ना. In newly created countries, they will have a greater amount of that, what I call khujli, to create a great nation, because these newly created nations are also looking at a way to enhance their sense of nationalism. And a nation becomes great the minute they have newer territories and they are fighting for the wars of imperialism. Naturally. And then comes nationalism. See, nationalism by this time were actually of three types: nationalism, ultra nationalism, and Jignoism. Nationalism, for example, I'll give you nationalism in my side. Nationalism, India is great. Hindustan बहुत महान है। अल्ट्रा नेशनलिज्म, हिंदुस्तान हमारा है और महान है। जिग्नोइज्म, हिंदुस्तान हमारा है, पाकिस्तान को रहना नहीं चाहिए। इंडिया मस्ट स्टे बट पाकिस्तान must not live. That is extreme version of ultranationalism. Now, see, if every country starts to create extreme version of ultranationalism, don't you think it will eventually lead to a war? See, the way Indian ultranationalists say Pakistan should not exist, don't get me wrong, जैसे हम अखंड भारत कहते हैं, पाकिस्तान में भी वो लोग हैं who actually talk about अखंड पाकिस्तान. In fact, I've seen Pakistan's textbook, history textbook of their Federal Public Service Commission, where they actually say Pakistan gave contribution to the world by starting civilization in the world. They claim that Indus Valley civilization is a Pakistani civilization. It took me 2-3 days to actually understand कि क्या क्या रहा है ये. That's a whole new level of jingoism. I'm not joking, trust me. They actually claim that Indus Valley civilization is a creation of Pakistan. मतलब Jinnah Sahib created Indus Valley civilization. Most of them even when I mean I don't even know how to justify this. But ये होता है जब nationalism ज्यादा हो जाता है ना, you become a jignoist. Honestly, when you become too much of nationalist, you become jingoist. पागल हो जाते हो तो. I mean, I'm expecting a next Pakistani government's 10th class textbook where they'll be saying Milky Way galaxy was created in Karachi, Earth was created in Lahore. मतलब लाहौर में बना के भेज दिए थे. I mean, their space agency Superco sent nuclear, I mean, Earth into orbit. इसे कहते हैं jingoism. I really love jingoism. Now, I'll give an example of what is militarism. एक बार जैसे जर्मनी बन गया, Germany started competing directly with United Kingdom to build battleships. And Germany even created something called the dreadnought. Dreadnought is actually a ship destroyer or a seaport destroyer with guns, etc. If Germany is creating a strong navy, the biggest threat Germany is to British Navy. If Germany is creating a strong navy, then Germany is going to be the biggest threat to British Navy. I'll give an example of numerical numbers of what I mean by militarism. Germany was literally in 1871, the minute Germany was created, Germany began competing with Russia and France for new territories, for expansion its army. Literally, देखिए, in 1880, German army was 1.3 million. 1914 May, it was 5 million. France was 0.73 million. By 1914, it was 4 million. Russia was 0.4 million. By 1914, it became 1.2 million. Now, the funny part is, any country, not just India, not just Russia, not just Germany, in any country, if you end up creating a very strong army, the first thing the army would look out is for a war. मतलब आर्मी बना दिए, अब जंग तो करना है ना, राइट? एक बार खुजली होता है। सी, व्हाई डू यू थिंक पाकिस्तान को इतना खुजली है? आई मीन, see, I'm sorry, I'm not in a, I don't want to roast Pakistan, but Pakistan herself comes under the knife always. इतना सा तो कंट्री है। टेक देम पाकिस्तान, बेकार का यूट्यूब का मोटिवेशन है, उनको लगता है इंडिया को कॉलोनाइज करेंगे। सेम लाइक दैट, व्हेन यू गेट टू मच मोटिवेटेड लाइक दिस, you become Germany and Pakistan. And once you have an army, you want to wage a war. Militarism. Then alliances. Alliances का मतलब है एक बार आर्मी बन गया, अब गैंग बनाने हैं। All the central powers like Germany, Austria, Ottoman Turkey, they created what we call the central powers. Naturally, Russia, France, Great Britain created the allied powers. एक बार armies ready हो गए, then you start creating gangs. ये मेरा gang, ये तुम्हारा gang types. Then comes imperialism. Now, this was one of the biggest problems. I'll give an example. I mean, never in the world is such an example available. In the year 1884, German Chancellor or German Prime Minister Otto von Bismarck, याद है Bismarck? In the year 1884, Bismarck actually invited a conference. We call this the Africa Conference, where he invited all the great powers of Europe like Belgium, United Kingdom, France, Germany herself, Italy, and all those. Literally, I'm not joking, literally, they brought a cake which was in the shape of Africa. They cut the cake and divided Africa among themselves. European powers. I mean, European powers have to be absolutely ashamed of their history. मतलब अगर दुनिया में कोई बेशरम है तो वो यूरोप है, बाकी सब इंसान है। Literally, they brought a cake. Bismarck brought a cake and he divided Africa among his friends. Naturally, those people who got lesser territory were angry. Those who got greater territory were happy. British always feared Germany in Africa, and Austrians always feared Serbia or Russians in the Balkans. Austrians never had. हाँ, एग्जैक्टली। जबकि अफ्रीकन्स वर लाइक माजी मजाक है, घर मेरा और बांट के खाने वाले आप। Exactly. It was hilarious the way world was divided. And Italy was one country which wanted North Africa. Italy was like, अगर North Africa नहीं मिला तो मैं जंग पे। Literally. And then comes nationalism. See, nationalism is sort of complicated sentiment to actually understand. 1920s, 1910s was an age where everybody wanted to show their nationalism, or every country was developing this idea of nationalism. There was, however, one problem. Romanians, Bulgarians, Serbia, Romania, Bulgaria, Serbia, Austria were against each other. Romania, Bulgaria, Serbia, Montenegro, Albania, Latvia, Lithuania. These are places where people who used to live in these places were known as Slavic people. SLAVIC. इन लोगों को स्लाविक कहते थे. Russians were Slavic people. So Russia was supporting these guys in their independence movements. But these guys, Romania, Bulgaria, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Montenegro, Albania, Greece, Macedonia, were trying to get independence from Austria. So naturally, don't you think Austria and Russia will be enemies of each other? Don't you think Austria and Russia will be enemies of each other? I'm repeating. If Austria is the occupier of Serbia, Bosnia, Romania, Bulgaria, Slavic territories, and if Russia is helping Slavs to get independence from Austria, then don't you think Austrians and Russians will be at enemy of each other? Naturally. Bound to happen. ऐसे में one of the most important political movement was an organization called the Black Hand Movement. इनका लॉजिक pretty simple था. There is a place called Bosnia. Bosnia was a Slavic territory or a Slavic region, but it was under Austrian occupation. So Bosnia wanted independence because they were Slavs, they were not Germans, whereas Austrians are Germans. With Bosnians wanting independence, Serbians were supporting them. Serbians and Bosnians were actually helping each other in trying to get independence. अब इस कहानी में बॉस्निया सर्बिया का हेल्पर था रशिया, क्योंकि रशियन खुद स्लाविक है और इन सभी का ऑक्यूपायर है ऑस्ट्रिया. Austria and Russia were naturally enemies. Enemies of opportunity, enemies of the circumstance. The last most important cause of World War I was the individuals, or generally I call significant individuals. Like, for example, Kaiser William II. William II of Germany. In fact, William had an idea that Germany must rule the world. He wanted to create Greater Germany or Great Germany. My question to you, if Germany has to be great in Europe, don't you think in that case Others in Europe have to be West. Right or wrong? अब अगर जर्मनी को ग्रेट बनना है तो बाकियों को तो वेस्ट बनना होगा ना. And that would obviously lead to distrust among other powers. Right? Another important guy who played a very big role is Count Berchtold of Austria. He was actually Austrian Prime Minister. And Bethmann Hollweg, German Foreign Minister. And finding by 1940, Germany, Austria, and Italy, they created a gang called the Triple Alliance. ये हुआ था 1882 में. Since Germany, Austria, Italy actually formed an alliance or a grouping of defense or protection, England, France, and Russia also followed and created a group. Now, I'll tell you the funny part. You know this, you see this guy, Tsar Nicholas? Tsar Nicholas and King George of England were actually first cousins. Both Tsar Nicholas II and King George were grandchildren of Queen Victoria. So they both also had family ties. दोनों first cousins थे. It was bound for the war to happen. Now, we need to understand the story of why Italy quit and Russia came. Now, this is actually the timeline to World War One. In 1871, German Empire begins with the Treaty of Frankfurt, where in the Palace of Versailles, Germany is created. The Second Reich is created. Now, as we go, we will see a couple of important developments. Like in 1872, the Three Emperors League, where an association of Austria, Russia, and Germany is created. Now, listen to this very carefully. It is basically European behavior. In general, it is actually European behavior where Europeans continuously keep on creating alliances and treaties. मतलब यूरोप में एक बिहेवियर है, अगर आप मेरे साथ नहीं हैं तो आप मेरे खिलाफ हैं. सो इफ यू आर नॉट माय फ्रेंड देन यू आर माय एनिमी. This was always there in Europe. If you are not my friend, then you are my enemy. अगर आप मेरे दोस्त नहीं हैं तो आप मेरे दुश्मन हैं. In 1879, we see dual alliance. 1888, Kaiser William removes Bismarck. Nicholas II becomes the Tsar of Russia in 1894. Slowly, 1905, we see the Russo-Japanese War. And finally, the trigger. And listen to this very carefully. Every global event actually needs a trigger. Now, trigger event is basically where everything changes after that. During World War One, the trigger event was killing of Gavrilo Princip, killing of Archduke Ferdinand by Gavrilo Princip. जैसे see 1857 revolt में the trigger event was introduction of the rifles. Same like you always need a trigger event. World War on the 28th of July 1914, Austria attacked Serbia, beginning the world's largest conflict. Why did that happen? In 1870, Germany is unified. Otto von Bismarck establishes Germany. एक silent rule था. I mean, there was an unwritten agreement actually between Bismarck and the people of Germany. There was an unwritten agreement. Now, the unwritten agreement was Germany, which actually Bismarck signed, not Kaiser Williams. Kaiser William was the king of Germany. King of Germany is the higher authority. Bismarck is not the higher authority. He has no right to actually sign, but he signed. The agreement was England will take care of world affairs. Germany will maintain European affairs. ये इन लोगों में एक अनरिटन अग्रीमेंट था जर्मनी और बिस्मार्क के आई मीन इंग्लैंड और बिस्मार्क के बीच. That is why Bismarck introduced a foreign policy where he would focus on isolating France completely, building a very strong Germany, and also expanding the German Empire beyond the borders of Europe. Expanding German Empire beyond the borders of Europe. Exactly. And look, if you remember, I talked about how during German occupation, German creation or establishment of Germany, this territory called Alsace-Lorraine, which was a border territory between Germany and France, was taken away. The only reason why Alsace-Lorraine was taken away was because it was actually an industrial territory. So if industrial territory of France is taken away by Germany, then France will no longer be capable of better economy. If you don't have good economy, you can't compete with an economy like Germany. So Bismarck had a very good foreign policy. Thanks to his Battle of Sedan, he took away all the French allies. Then all the way from 1872, Bismarck started doing secret agreements and secret alliances. Now look, there is a global convention today. The convention basically emphasizes that if a country does a legal or a diplomatic agreement with another country, such an agreement has to be declared in public. मतलब सीक्रेट अग्रीमेंट नहीं कर सकते. इसका मैं छोटा एग्जांपल देता हूं. Which is the country which is mostly put under sanctions in the world as of today? सबसे ज्यादा sanctions फेस करने वाला देश कौन सा है in the world today? I'm talking about sanctions, Parth. Isn't it North Korea? बिल्कुल संजय. It is North Korea. Now my question. Do you know who is the largest trading partner of North Korea? Largest trading partner of North Korea? China. Who is the second largest? Do you know who is the second largest trading partner of North Korea? It is India. India. Bismarck wanted something like that. He wanted a complete, total boycott of France. Obviously, he was not successful, but he at least attempted to. Bismarck did attempt to boycott France. Having said that, guys, I've given you a very quick background of where World War One actually started. The actual event and details of World War One we will discuss in tomorrow's class. Tomorrow night at 9 p.m. on the very same YouTube channel. Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Let us discuss. Let us have a discussion on MCQs. Bhulna mat. Daily class. 8 a.m. prelims. 9 p.m. mains. That's it in the session here today. Let us meet tomorrow. You have a nice day. Thank you. We will continue world history. By the way, there is a quick update. After world history, we will be continuing the 9 p.m. class with post independent history, not just consolidation. We'll be seeing history of India from 1947 till 2023. नहीं 8 a.m. class. Guys, prelims at 8 baje, 8 a.m. mains 9 p.m. Okay. Thank you. You have a nice day. Good night. Bye bye.